The Coulson role and persona, though always evolving and always having new parts of him revealed to me by our writers, became a very familiar skin in a way. And to kind of change all that and suddenly find myself playing this other very mysterious person who is not Phil Coulson. And the mystery of who that person is and why he looks like that is something that they've done groundbreaking, wild stuff with that I'm really lucky to play.
You're from S.H.I.E.L.D. Never heard of it.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another one of my Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6 videos. So Marvel Entertainment just posted this little teaser, this little interview with Gregg on their YouTube channel, on which they discuss, and as expected, the most mysterious thing about the most recent trailer of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the return of Coulson. Now, as I just mentioned, the whole thing is supposed to be a little teaser as to what character Coulson is playing. He starts off by discussing how his role in the series as Coulson has evolved over the years. He then talks about the bit about him being referred to as the glue of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not Gregg, Phil Coulson that is. And then he makes this little joke about him seemingly becoming the cockroach of the MCU. There could be snaps, anything could go down, but he is just not killable. Phil Coulson is not killable. But the part that really counts here is the bit about him playing this other very mysterious person who's not Phil Coulson, and the mystery of who that person is. Now, looking at what he says over there, I could only think of two possibilities. Let's start with scenario or possibility number one. This could be a confirmation of him not being Coulson, or the Coulson we knew, which does still support a lot of theories that we've come up with so far. The theories that would get eliminated over here are a cure was found theory, he's been to Snapland and back, fully cured theory, the Phil that died during the season break is a Skrull, and the one returning is the real Phil Coulson, and timeline changes in Endgame prevented his death in the first place theory. Now, all of these theories, and as you may remember from my theory video, the 9 theories that I kinda ranked in this one video a week ago, they are all at the very bottom of my list because they're not really solid theories. Each and every one of them either has a logical issue, a high-risk issue, or ends up becoming some sort of a corny way of writing. Now, out of all these theories that I just mentioned, the Phil that died is the Skrull, and the one returning is the real Coulson theory. This one still might have a chance to work, even though I don't think that's gonna be the case again, one out of the bottom of my list. But the theory itself would translate into us having never dealt with the real Coulson. So this new returning Coulson, he's the real Coulson, we've never dealt with him, so he's really this totally new guy. Now, the situation with Ghost Rider Coulson might be a little bit different, it all depends on how you look at it. So pretty much it might be counted out as well, because he would retain being Coulson to an extent, the personality and everything, including his love for May and the team, like the case was with Robbie and his brother. But then again, he's not exactly being Coulson, he's like a mashup of Coulson and a spirit of vengeance. So the jury is still out on that one, and hence why I stated, it really depends on how you look at it. But anyway, everything else, every other theory, including Butterfly resurrected, no empathy and no memories Coulson, would remain intact because they essentially involve a different person or personality. But moving on to scenario or possibility number 2, this is nothing, just a way to keep people away from assuming anything, assuming he's actually Coulson in any way, shape or form, which would kind of tempt us to think he is really Coulson. Unless that's really what they want us to think, and in essence he's not really Coulson. Now this would be really confusing because it means that Coulson, or Gregg in this case, is kind of trying to throw us off in a way. The way he mentions it as well, it sounds like he's trying to throw us off. The entire statement about not being Phil Coulson was really unnecessary in that context. But then again, it could be necessary in the sense that it means something completely different. Like for example, I'm still going to be playing Phil Coulson, only this Phil Coulson is not the same Phil Coulson that you know. He's possibly lost his memories, he's possibly had his mind wiped, there are a lot of scenarios, and he would still not be the Phil Coulson that we know. All of this would lead to a different Phil Coulson, a Phil Coulson who is the same in terms of body and soul and all of that, but completely different in personality, reactions, and all of the other good stuff. But if there is anything we know about both sides of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movies and television, it is that they never give us any kind of big reveals or allow us theory elimination, and especially this early on, 5 to 6 months before the season airs. That's just kinda crazy, kind of extremely weird for Marvel. But now that I've presented both options, here's what I really think, or what I plan on assuming. Well, for the sake of being extremely conservative, I'm gonna assume it's option number 1, or at the very least, for the time being, I wouldn't mind it being option number 1. Since the get-go and the release of the trailer, I was not so big on any of the options that do not pronounce Coulson dead, for either logical or corny story writing reasons, or risks inherent in using a certain storyline. I've already mentioned all of that on my Mega Theory video on how Coulson is going to return on this season. But to go through them quickly, with both snap theories, them being the snap curing him or endgame events, changing the timeline in such a way he was never killed in the first place, there's always been the risk of the writers of the series not knowing the outcome of Endgame, which I'm almost certain they don't know, by the way, not yet at least. With the cure has been found between seasons 5 and 6 theory, I found myself stating on one of my earlier videos how corny that would feel. The Phil that died is the Skrull, and the one returning is the real Coulson theory. On the other hand, it does assume it all happens, the exchange happens, as Captain Marvel ends. This theory has the logical flaw of how Project Tahiti ever saved him if he's always been a Skrull. I'm not really worried about our Ghost Rider theory, which is, by the way, one of my favorites, because it all depends on how you look at it, and as I just mentioned, the Ghost Rider merges with Coulson, makes Coulson a new person, or at least one with two sides, so he could be viewed as technically not really Coulson. Finally, we've got the Butterfly resurrected Coulson theory, the one that I posted last night, and I think it would remain intact because he's definitely a new Coulson, one without Coulson's soul, without his memories, and one who happens to be an evil sociopath. So just to sum up, all of this leaves us with the following theories. Number 1, Coulson is a Skrull, which as I stated and for the obvious reasons, will not work. Marvel Studios might be planning to build a huge arc out of the Skrulls, one that would brew for the better part of the next 4 to 5 years, leading up to the next 10 years of Marvel, before we get to meet the next Thanos level villain. I want to say that's going to be Galactus, and hence the Skrulls are going to be important to that kind of arc, major arc, 10 years arc, but I just don't want to get anyone's hopes up, including mine at this moment. But yeah, there was really no good reason they would allow AOS to do the entire Secret Invasion plot and before them. Number 2, Coulson is the new Ghost Rider. I love it, it's one of my favorites, top 5 really. Number 3, Coulson is a Xartan, which would be the alternative for the Skrull theory, and would be perfect as well considering they have already replaced Super Skrull Zavin with a Xartan Zavin on Runaway Season 2, and they are shapeshifters and very similar to War Skrulls in terms of powers, so they kinda fit right in, and kinda provides for a parallel to whatever is gonna be going down in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie side. But number 4 though, Alternate Reality Coulson or Alternate Universe Coulson. Now that is the option or theory that one of my commenters referred to as Into the Coulsonverse, and yes, I like the name, and I used it on my previous video. But number 5 though, a variation on Into the Coulsonverse and a variation on the Gatherer's Saga from the comics. Now that would make this version of Coulson, this alternate version, the show's version of Proctor from the comics, so he would definitely be the villain of the season, which makes this theory one that works with the theory that this Coulson that we saw on the trailer is an evil Coulson. Finally though, number 6, the Butterfly resurrected Coulson theory, which is actually my favorite at this moment. Now you could check all these theories on both videos that you're gonna find linked in the end screen to this video and in the cards as well. Now if you haven't checked my trailer breakdown yet, you'll find it linked on the same. You could also tune in sometime tomorrow for my breakdown of the Gifted Season 2 finale synopsis and promotional photos, as well as some of my early predictions for the season finale. Just to remind you as well, there are no episodes of The Gifted airing this week, there are no episodes of Gotham airing this week, so logically, there are going to be no reviews for either. But hopefully next week we're going to have a full plate. Gifted is going to be airing, Gotham is going to be airing, and hopefully both will be as amazing as their seasons have been so far. That being said though, my work here is done, so let me know in the comments what you thought of this interview with Gregg. Let me know if you think it's option 1 or option 2, and if it's option 2, which variation do you think it is? You can also let me know if you did like this video by dropping it one of those much appreciated likes, and if that were to be the case, you can always subscribe and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. But until the next time you tune in for another one of my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos or otherwise, thank you so much for tuning into this one, and have a great day.